This video is about bigorexia, which is something I read about this morning in the New York Times. And apparently psychologists are using this term bigorexia to describe the phenomenon of teenage boys being obsessed with getting bigger and stronger and showing their bodies to the world, and how it ends up affecting them mentally and psychologically, because instead of actually bringing them more happiness, which is what they expect, it actually makes them more isolated. So that's what this video is going to be talking about. When you're young, in your teens and early 20s, your life is really being developed in regards to your ego, like how you see yourself and how you interact with the world and what it means to you, how you feel about yourself, whether your life has meaning or not. A lot of people, when you're that age, you can't figure out what you want to do with your life. Sometimes you feel like your life has no meaning. And unsurprisingly, you start to, because you don't have a lot of guidance in this either, and sometimes there's too many choices and you don't know what to do. So when you're kind of lost in that situation, a lot of guys and girls, but this is more about guys, because everyone talks about the girls. Everyone talks about Instagram and other social media and the effect it has on females. Not as much as talked about with men or young men, but obviously it happens because I went through it even in my younger years before Instagram, before social media even existed. So when you feel a little bit lost, where you don't have purpose in your life, you start to seek externally. You look for external validation. And one of the ways, if you're a heterosexual young man, you're going to look for that validation through the attention of females. And in general, guys will try to get bigger and stronger and look better in the desire to meet females. And maybe that will also boost up their status. It's all about attention. That's what we're really looking for, because it feels good to get attention. It feels good to get compliments. The problem is, as every religion and every philosophy points out, is that it's fleeting. It's very temporary. And you're constantly in search of more compliments. And eventually you get old. Eventually you get married, you have kids, you have a desk job, and even if you attained a really appealing muscular body, chances are you're probably going to lose it just as part of the normal aging process. And then what happens? So the article was about this phenomenon among younger men, and really it was based around TikTok and YouTube videos, and how some of these younger men are gaining large followings by looking good, but the problem is they are very, very unhappy in the process, and it completely affects them psychologically because they stop socializing, they stop going to birthday parties, they stop doing anything because it might affect their next workout. And if their next workout isn't optimal, which is ridiculous, that might affect their muscle growth, which is limited to begin with. You can't keep going up. So these people are completely secluding themselves and probably creating lots of tension and anxiety in their life because they're so obsessed with their ego, their identity. These people, their identity right now, how they're known, is for big muscles. They have to keep that up. So the problem is, once you attain a certain level of body development, then the struggle is you have to maintain it. And for these people, if you're not online, it doesn't really matter. You can lose it, no one's really going to care. No one's really going to care. But if you're online and your ego and your identity is caught up in how you look, you now have to hold on to that. Otherwise, what happens? People are going to be like, oh, this guy stinks. He doesn't know what he's doing, or he doesn't look as fit as he used to. So you just get stuck in this cycle of suffering, and you're constantly searching for more and more and more, but in reality, there's really nowhere else to go. And these people their mental health is being affected. So there's no doubt that the human brain, our mind, works best when we're moving towards something, movement towards a goal, an objective. But there's two different goals you could have. Well, there might be more than two, but I'm just going to talk about two. One is a more hedonistic goal, pleasure seeking, ego seeking, status seeking. That's what these guys are doing with their Instagram accounts and their TikTok accounts. They're seeking validation. That is not, like I said, as every philosophy and religion points out, that is not a success for happiness. That's actually, you're going as far away from happiness as possible. when you are pursuing those types of things. Or it could be more money, more sex, females, whatever it's going to be. It's never enough, because once you get it, then you realize, oh, this is not making me happy, so now you're on to the next thing. And that's really the whole lesson of Buddhism. So our mind needs to work towards something, but it has to be a positive thing. Now, what's positive? And that's more complicated, because you have to figure out what you're interested in. Ideally, work would be something that you could move towards in a positive way, but a lot of people hate their jobs. They're stuck in jobs that alienate them. Karl Marx, the socialist, communist philosopher, he talked about the great alienations back in the Industrial Revolution time in the 1800s. People went through creating their own clothes, growing their own food, creating their own watches and objects, to when Industrial Revolution came around, people now had to work in factories. They couldn't compete anymore. So they had to go to factories, and now they're alienated from the production of goods. It's the assembly line, division of labor. No longer are they creating the whole thing. They're only doing one little part of it, and it becomes very dehumanizing, because humans need to work to move towards something. You also become alienated from the fruits of your labor. Yeah, you get paid a salary, but it's not the same thing. You're still because you sign a contract to work, you're kind of beholden to someone else. So it's very difficult in modern life, if you work for a corporation, to have a job that doesn't alienate you from work itself. So if you're in that situation, what could you do? At least part of your life could be devoted to creativity. That's the important thing, is creativity, because it will involve all of your neurochemicals, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, all the things that help us propel us forward, which would be dopamine, that has us seek out more objectives, seek out things that are good for us. Serotonin, which allows us to be happy with the things that we've attained. And then oxytocin is, if you're creating something with other people, it gives you a sense of bonding. These are all the things that we need kind of to be happy. And of course, psychologists know this, but the problem is it's so hard to attain for a lot of people. Another important aspect is, what do you want your body for? If you're in pain, obviously you want to get out of pain, but I think it's an important question to think about is, once you're out of pain, then what? Life isn't going to automatically get amazingly better for you if you're out of pain. It'll get better, most likely, because you're no longer in pain. But what if you don't have other areas of your life to devote your energies toward? Do you have a positive goal in mind? Is there something positive that you are moving towards? Are you satisfied with life right now? And again, if you're in pain, it's difficult, but just think about it. Life isn't automatically going to get better. The circumstances of life, the conditions of life, are not necessarily going to get better just because you're out of pain. So I think you need to take into account the psychological processes that go into how you are existing right now, because those psychological processes could also be part of the pain that you are experiencing. It might be the pain of life that's being exhibited in your body, and you focus on the symptoms and the pain in your body, and you ignore. It's now a distraction. You think, and this is kind of what John Sarno used to talk about with the mind-body connection in this type of way, is now this focus on the physical pain of your body lets you ignore what's going on in your real life. So you really need to think about both of those things. So this is a video of me social dancing, and that's what I do on a regular basis. This is what makes me happy. This is my creation. And then this is a scene, this is my first acting scene. And I've been taking acting lessons recently because I needed more creativity, because postural restoration is very analytical. And the more analytical I get, my brain wants to explode. So I need the creative in my life. So for me, it's dancing and acting. And then creating videos is also a creative aspect of my life. And I make money I make a living doing these things. Well, not acting, and I used to teach dancing, but not anymore. So I own the fruits of my own labor. Like when I put the labor in, I get the fruits of that labor. Whether it's dancing, I get the satisfaction of having a great dance with someone I know or a stranger even. And that's very satisfying. We are creating moment by moment as we dance. That is the art of creation. In acting, it's very much the same way. I'm only a beginner in that, but you are creating something with someone else. And it's a very, very, very fascinating process, which I'll probably talk about more. And then, of course, making YouTube videos and making my living off of helping other people is also very satisfying, in the fact that if I worked for a gym, they'd be taking half my money, half my income, whatever sessions I do would be taken from the gym. I don't have to deal with that anymore. So I enjoy the fruits of my own labor. So what if you don't know what to do? As I used to tell my dance students when they would freeze, because sometimes when you're dancing, you forget what to do, you just do stuff. Try anything. You never know what you're going to be good at, and you never know what you're going to enjoy. I can guarantee you that. If you're unhappy or you're bored with life, if you watch too many videos, too many YouTube videos, and you go down rabbit holes and conspiracy theories, get out and do stuff. You have to. There's really no other way to do it. So now, of course, your ego might get in the way and your own, and if you have a poor self-image, or if you have no confidence, that's all part of it. You have to get started. Do a little bit at a time, and I guarantee you, your life will get better when you start to create. If you found this video interesting or helpful, could you like it, comment, or subscribe to the channel? I would appreciate it. Thanks.